For years, video game items have been redefining and reshaping some of the most iconic items that come from our favorite video game characters. Whether or not it's Mega Man's blaster or Mario's mushrooms or even iconic Pokeballs, video game items just tend to push a different form of media compared to things like movies and more. I mean, I can't be the only one who remembers walking up into Walmart and really wanting to buy those Minecraft tools that were made out of foam back in the day. That is why today I am wondering what would happen if we tried to make video game items realistic, and trust me, you are not going to want to miss out on this. So starting off, I had a blank canvas, and to be completely honest with you guys, I had no confidence going into this. I mean, I somehow had to make this look realistic. How is that even possible? I started off by putting the cartoon version of the mushroom into the canvas and putting some grass in the background just so I can kind of start pushing towards a goal or something. So I started out by tracing the Mario mushroom as a whole because I knew that I would want to control the texture work a little bit later on. So I went around the face and I went around the eyes and I also went around the big, mushroom top kind of red area with the white dots. And then we were left with something like this, which just looks like something that I completely nabbed off of a vector art website. But you know what? Don't judge me, okay? I knew before any type of shading went down, I had to add some textures. Why? Because I personally felt like it and I'm spoiled. Let's just go next. So as I'm creating this, I'm sitting here wondering what exactly would the Mario mushroom skin kind of texture be? And then I've come to the twisted, sinister realization that it should be human skin. So I went ahead and grabbed a skin texture off of Google and I slammed it onto my canvas and I went ahead and clipping masked it to the face. And let me just say, that looks cursed. He looks like he just got out of the shower. You know when you shower for like an hour straight and you get like crinkly fingers? Yeah. But then I went ahead and moved on to shading, which was probably the most fun and easy part. I shaded him down, he started somewhat looking normal, and then I started asking myself, what would the red kind of area be? Because it can't be human skin because he's wearing like a hat, and then it clicked. Why not leather? So I grabbed a leather texture and I put it right on the mushroom cap, and to be completely honest with you guys, it looks amazing. And after staring at it for about 75 weeks, I realized that something was just not sitting right, and I think it was the background. So I started experimenting with a lot of different things like dirt and skies and weird things like that. At one point, I even tried to mix the grass and the dirt, but the blur and the bokeh just, it didn't line up, okay? Sometimes things just don't work out in life. You run away from your problems. But I did end up settling on this kind of like grass, dirt, half mix. English? I added some shadows and I also added some glows on the little white spots because for some reason I imagined them to be like spotlights. And then I kind of did like this little expand trick and created a red rim light to look like the light was actually hitting the back side of the mushroom. And at this point, the piece was starting to come together. I was starting to take deep breaths and realize that everything was going to be okay because this was a cursed idea and image in the first place. So we moved forward a little bit. I added a little bit of smoke on the ground so we could really get some of that atmosphere going on. And then before I knew it, it was already time for a camera raw. I think this is the fastest speed run I've ever done for a photo manipulation. Even if it doesn't look the best, I was pretty impressed with myself. We were left with this final product, and I must say I'm really impressed with how it came out, especially with like the little dust and debris coming off of his mushroom head. I also went ahead and made a bluish kind of purple red duotone version because why not? Duotone is badass. By the way, if you guys are enjoying the video, why not do me a solid and leave a like and subscribe? The videos are only going to get crazier and you guys are not going to want to miss out on them. Plus, it supports your boy. Let's go ahead and get into the next item. Moving on to the next item, we're going to be doing the Fortnite Big Pot from Fortnite.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
And to be completely honest with you guys, I kind of popped off a little bit with this one. Because at first I was like, how am I going to manipulate glass and how am I going to get the lid right? And then I eventually just said, screw it. Let's just dive headfirst into this. So that's what we did. I opened up a blank document and I went ahead and added my fish bowl, which is going to be what I was using for the jar. Go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know. What should we name this fish? I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter because he's getting generative filled anyway. Sorry to crush your guys' dreams. But anyway, we've got an empty pot now and it's got a little bit of water and I'm sitting here and I'm like, how am I supposed to manipulate water in this thing? Someone help. But good thing for Envato Elements, we were able to find a 3D jar with a lid that looked pretty decent. Not accurate to the old one, but you know what? It doesn't have to be continuity. Remember, we're making these real. We're not making these identical, right? So let's lock in. I took this water image that I found on Envato, and let me just tell you, at first it did not look good, but after a little bit of manipulating, I guess I can say it was feasible. So at this point, I had water moving around on a completely still fishbowl, and I just decided, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. The water moving around looks dope. So one of the things that I did was I darkened the background and worked really hard on the lighting to make sure that it looked decent. I added this blue spotlight in the back to make sure that it kind of had like some color, because I mean at this point we were just looking at a stale black background with like a wood table. And you know the drill, I lowered the levels on the jar and then I slowly started painting back some light to really just kind of sell the effect. And then I kind of masked it away on the water, so literally like we had a masked out water and then we had a jar that was just completely dark. I don't know what I was cooking here, okay? Let me cook. And then I realized that something was missing from this piece because it was literally just a jar with water and I couldn't really make it look any more like the Fortnite pot, so why not make the rest of the actual art piece look good? So I took a dust brush and I painted all around the lid and the sides of the jar to sell the effect that it was kind of reminiscing on some particles. Maybe it was like, you know, enchanted, majestic, whatever the case is. And then I added my spotlights and it was already time again to hop into camera raw. And I must say, the addition to smoke really did help this piece out, and I knew that I was going to absolutely abuse vignette to kind of get away with any details that I may have left out on the piece, which left us with this final product. And you guys know the drill, I had to make a duotone version, but I'm not gonna lie, looking back at this, I blasted the highlights out into oblivion, so it looks a little wonky, but yeah, duotone version is here. And I mean, compared to the actual big pot, I understand it doesn't have like the clamp and the dope ribbon and all of that stuff, but I mean, guys, come on, it's realistic. Next up, one of the items that I knew I wanted to tackle was a Pokeball of some kind, but I didn't really want to do like the generic red and white Pokeball, so I had to hop on Google and see what it was all about, and I drew the conclusion that we were going to do the Ultra Ball. So I went ahead and I threw a sketch of the Ultra Ball right into my blank Photoshop canvas, and I did something very similar to what I did with the first item, which was the Mario mushroom, and I sketched out like bits and pieces of the Pokeball. And the reason why I do this is because every single object in this video so far has been made of shapes, so we can take those shapes and we can fill them with textures, which makes stuff look badass. And I was left with a ball that was very discombobulated and just not even. So what did I do? I basically drew an eclipse circle and I clipping masked the whole thing to it. Big brain. So I imported my metals, my golds, my silvers, my whatevers, and I started slowly clipping masking them to these shapes to eventually lead us with somewhat of a Pokeball that honestly kind of looks like it just came out of a scrapbook, but we're gonna fix that. Now at this point in the project, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, what in the world am I gonna do with this project? I absolutely have no idea, until I started utilizing my white colored brush, which at the end of the day kind of gave it like a nice aura glow, which really started to make it pop. And then I kind of got an idea to do that with the rest. So I added some of my white brush to the silver parts and also the center button of the Pokeball, and like I mentioned before, the gold, and we started having a piece that started coming together, which is amazing. After that, I knew I wanted to add a little bit of haze lighting so I could really start making this look real. And then I really liked how the first Mario mushroom came out, so I decided to add a grass background to this just so I can get a lot of blending down. Plus this grass background came with this dope like twig that kind of looks like it was resting on it, so I knew I had to take advantage of that. I made everything in the canvas dark so I could start doing my lighting, and I actually started out with my whites this time. I added some fog and I did a little bit more details on this little twig that's resting up against the Pokeball, and then it was finally time for the camera raw on our last and final piece, and I just dropped my pen. We were left with this final product. The point of the matter is making the Pokeball look real, and the texture and all of that just makes it look badass in my opinion. I mean, remember, we literally started with a cartoon version of the Pokeball, which is insane. And as always, I had to hit it with the duotone, but this time I wanted to do a little bit of a Rust and Fallout vibe because why not? I mean, yellow reminds me of mustard gas, and mustard gas has the word mustard in it, so why not kind of, you know, give it a little bit of like gravy, if you know what I mean. So I did a little bit of an orange and a white, and we were left with this, which is super sick. I hope that this video brought back some fond memories and maybe even gave you the inspiration to visit some of these beloved games. And remember, it's not just about the items themselves, but the adventures and the memories that we've shared with them while playing. Share your favorite video game memory down below and let me know which of these three that we created today was your favorite. Until then, I'm gonna go ahead and remind you to keep hydrating, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.